I wouldn't go back. For $100 an hour job, I wouldn't go back.
Interesting.
I would not go back at all. Getting up in the morning, doing what you have to do, and rushing to go and punch the clock to make somebody else rich. You get to decide what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it. And us, we work really hard. So it pays off because we're working for ourselves instead of giving all our energy and everything to somebody else to make them rich so they can live a good life. In the U.S., we're kind of groomed to be an employee, work for someone.
Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time, welcome on board. So it's no longer news that a lot of Americans are living in droves. About 9 million Americans had already left America, and this is due to the political climate that the whole world is in right now, and especially in America, right? So a lot of white people are looking for greener pasture, are looking for places elsewhere where they could not spend as much money as they are spending on bills here in America, right? So a lot of them are leaving, and some of them are in Africa. Yeah, you heard me right. Some of them are in Africa looking for cheaper places to stay, looking for cheaper countries that would not make them pay bills through their noses, right? So this move has always been in the long making since this government came into power, right? So a lot of Americans are complaining because of how things are becoming way too expensive. Even with $300 to $400, you cannot even get worth of groceries that would feed you for the next 1 week. So a lot of them are in total despair and are looking for countries where they have affordable housing, have affordable healthcare, affordable, groceries, affordable just standard of living, even house ownership, right? So all of them are looking elsewhere to see if they could get a lot of these things way cheaper than what they are getting in America. So guys, if you are new here, welcome on board, but I would like you to drop your comments. What do you think about this move by a lot of Americans, especially white Americans trying to move to Africa and elsewhere to look for a greener pasture? Please drop your thoughts in the comments.
You don't just wake up someday and decide I'm going to drop out of the U.S. consumeristic society and move to Honduras and live on a small Caribbean island in search of a more meaningful and simplistic life. It's a process. For me, the first step was pursuing the American dream, going to college, getting a job, starting a business, being successful, and successful not only in your career, but also financially and socially, and acquiring the things that are supposed to bring you happiness, a nice home, a fancy car, lots of things. That's where happiness is promised to us in the United States under our consumeristic society. And then discovering that that doesn't bring you happiness, that you aren't as satisfied as you thought you would be, and thinking the answer is getting more things and earning more money and being more successful. After all, there are people with bigger houses and nicer cars, and maybe if I had those things, I could do it. And realizing that that takes you into a spiral of stress and jealousy and unfulfillment. And the harder you work, the more behind you seem, and the more dissatisfied with the things that you have. And then finally one day realizing that maybe the key to success isn't upward into more financial and career success and more things. Maybe it's downward. Maybe it's in a more simplistic life with less things and less responsibilities to just be more satisfied. And so you start watching YouTube videos about people making homesteads in Alaska, or building farms in Panama, or living on a sailboat. I was totally obsessed with van life, and you use those as escapism to think maybe I could have a life like that. But it's just a dream, right? It's just escapism. It's something when you can't sleep at night, you lay in bed and you think about. You don't really think you're going to do it. And then one night at 3 a.m., because you're always awake at 3 a.m. with a panic attack and anxiety about the crushing pressure of your profession and your life, and you just think, I can't do this anymore. Like an alcoholic that hits rock bottom, you hit rock bottom on the American dream, and you think, if if I keep doing this, it's going to kill me. And that's when you decide that this is going to be more than just a dream. You're going to do it. You're going to figure out a way, and it will seem impossible, and it will be something you can't just run out and do. You're going to have to plan and work for it, like everything else you've worked for your life that has had meaning. And so you start to do it. That is when you find out that there is more to life than owning stuff. There's more to happiness than being successful. That you were right. Those things come not from having more, but having less.
It is better for you to leave first and to set up a soft landing for your other immediate friends and family.
I'm just gonna say it because nobody else is saying it, even though we're all thinking it. The American dream is to leave America.
Nearly 9 million Americans have left the country. And if there were a new state called Expatland, it would probably be more populous than Vermont, Wyoming, and Alaska combined. After all, what made citizens of the world's richest nation, once hailed as the land of the American dream, choose to leave their own homeland? Let's look at the small details in life. A supermarket bill for almost $300 for just 1 week of groceries. A retired couple has to count every penny to pay for health insurance that costs as much as their rent. A family in Chicago is teaching their children how to duck when they hear gunshots, instead of how to cross the street. This is no one else's business. This is our story. And if nearly 9 million Americans have left, perhaps it's time to ask again. Is staying in America still the right choice? And are we the next ones to pack our bags? Let's start exploring. Going to the supermarket is so expensive now. Before, I used to fill the trunk with groceries, but now there's only enough room to put them on the passenger seat. I just saw 2 bottles of juice for $9. The price is ridiculous. It's no longer a secret. Many Americans are complaining about rising food prices. And it's not just a subjective feeling anymore. According to the latest Consumer Price Index, CPI, the cost of shopping at supermarkets has continued to rise to nearly 330 points. This is the largest increase since 2016. The American dream, which used to be a full dinner, has now become a joke on the bill. Bananas are 50 this year compared to 38 last year. Coffee has increased by up to 40% in a year and is now priced at $8.99. Ground beef is currently priced at $7.67, while a year ago it was only $6.77. Everything is so expensive that many Americans have to cut out a meal a day. It's no coincidence that 52% of Americans believe living abroad would be cheaper and of higher quality. They don't talk in theory. They looked at the wallet. They compare. In Mexico or Costa Rica, a family can live comfortably on 50–60% of the cost compared to the US. For some ones a month, you can rent a bright apartment and eat at restaurants a few times a week. In the US, that same amount of money would barely cover your health insurance. A woman in shared, "Every time I go to the supermarket, it costs at least $300, and my energy bill has increased by 70%. I earn more money than before, but I have less left at the end of the month because all my expenses have increased." In Tampa, to live comfortably, you need to earn $111,000 a year, which is unimaginable for most of my friends. Many people, after trying, finally decided decisively, we're leaving. For family life, for the children, for safety and happiness. They prepared their immigration documents, researched thoroughly, and compared the cost of staying versus starting over elsewhere. A musician said, "I used to play music 4 to 5 times a week, which was enough to live on and save. Now the income is higher, but it's still not enough to cover expenses. Inflation, housing prices, utilities, food, everything is suffocating. I don't see a future here anymore." What I find most paradoxical is that America always prides itself on being the world's #1 economy, yet ordinary workers feel like they're losing right on their home turf. When medical bills are higher than rent, when beef becomes a luxury, people start to look beyond borders. In the US, retirement in 2025 no longer means retiring, but seems to mean retiring from steak to oatmeal. A lifetime upgrade for a lifetime of dedication. In your opinion, is this just a temporary blip, or a sign that the American dream is cracking from within the kitchen? What do you think, with the money you have now, would you choose a simple dinner in the US or a full seafood meal in Mexico? And remember, the cost is just the surface. There's another nightmare that makes many Americans want to leave, even before they reach retirement age. The United States spends more on healthcare than any other country on the planet. Over $2,500 per person per year, double the OECD average. At first glance, this sounds like a health paradise. But the irony is this: Americans are the people who are most afraid of going to the doctor. From 2000 to 2019, global healthcare spending reached $8.5 trillion, equivalent to nearly 10% of the world's GDP. But in the US alone, that number is even more staggering. 20% of GDP, meaning for every dollar spent, 20 cents goes to healthcare. Americans pay twice as much as people in other wealthy countries. But the results are not at all proportionate. Every time they go to the doctor, instead of asking, "Can my illness be cured?" Americans ask, "Can I afford this bill?" For an emergency visit that only requires a light bandage, the bill can be $3,000 and $5,000 if insurance doesn't cover it. Entering the hospital is like entering a casino. You don't know what you'll come out with, your health, or a bill that's half the price of a car. Not stopping there, many people are frustrated by the way the American healthcare system is operating. Some people even quipped, going to the hospital in the US is like stepping into a casino. You don't know what you'll come out with, your health or a bill worth half a car.
Americans are leaving America, and it is not for vacation. It's for survival. A growing wave of Americans are packing up, terrified by Trump's dictatorship, Republican fascism, and Democrats' capitulation. Interracial couples, LGBT plus individuals, people of color, and intelligent people in general are seeing their rights replaced with restrictions. In Ireland, U.S. passport applications hit their highest level in a decade, up 60% in just 2 months. France is seeing long-term stay visas for Americans up 20%. Portugal, Spain, UK, relocation companies can barely keep up with demand. Traffic to Blacksit Global, which helps Black Americans relocate, surged 50% after the election. Some are leaving quietly, like a trans couple in Colorado, because Trump wrongly says there are only 2 genders. States are moving to ban gender care, so they're planning their exit. Google searches for how to leave the U.S. spiked after the election, and real estate deals for Americans in Spain surged before the Golden Visa program was shut down. European culture is different than American culture, and many won't adjust. And of course, Europe has its issues: immigrations, taxes. Putin expected to take Moldova and then Romania with his eyes on the rest of Europe for the new Russian Empire. But a possibility of another European war is a safer bet than staying in a country that is already a fascist dictatorship.
So Americans, rich and poor, are packing their bags and leaving the United States of America. From the first 6 months of this year compared to the first 6 months of last year, Americans moving to other countries has increased by 90%. That's right, 90%. And so that's almost double what it was last year. And so, folks, people are seeing the craziness and the chaos and the instability and the violence, and they're just leaving. They're just leaving. Folks, let me know why you think this is happening in the comments. And
it is so bittersweet leaving. Today is my last day in my house. Everything is empty. Everything is gone. And it's not necessarily that the things are gone, it's that I'm leaving. Like, listen. It's so peaceful back here. I would sit in my hammock and just lay back and watch the clouds. Watch the stars, watch the moon. talk to God. And it truly feels like the end this time. Like before, it didn't feel like the end. This feels like the end.
I'm in the bush making money, and when you see me become rich, don't report me to the ACC. Making money in the bush.
Americans have started to leave the US because of the rise of authoritarianism. And this is something that should absolutely not be taken lightly. I literally saw a report this morning from Australia talking about how they have some applications from this year of people seeking human rights shelter because they are scared of what's going to happen to them. They want to have a backup plan if things go to shit so they can go to Australia and get a visa. And that's absolutely nothing new. Canada has also opened up a program to Americans that may potentially want to leave the country as a sort of political refugee. While that might sound crazy, we are absolutely entering into an era where this is something that people are starting to consider. And even some professors at Yale and other colleges in the US who teach about the rise of authoritarianism and fascism have left the US or have at least started to make plans to leave. And if that's not a wake-up call to other Americans to rally together to join the fight, I don't know what is. The president should not be able to send armed troops to terrorize American citizens. People should not be able to be kidnapped regardless of whether they're foreign born or American born, nor should they disappear. So I would really look long and hard into your decision to be apolitical right now because things are changing rapidly in a very bad way.
One of the reasons why Americans are leaving is largely due to fascism and authoritarian political ideologies that are beginning to engulf the whole of America. Yeah, fascism and authoritarian form of rulership, right? So a lot of Americans are trying to run away before it becomes so hard. And I kept asking, what about those that do not have money to live? What about those that do not have the resources to relocate? And a lot of people, just like I said, a lot of Africans, a lot of people all around the world still wants to come to America, even with the way things are going, right? Meanwhile, Americans that had been here, they know how this country is being run. And now they are seeing drastic differences from where it was to what it is right now. That's why a lot of them are leaving. Like the other guy said, even if you try to cut on your expenses, even if you try to be as frugal as possible, still you will not meet up with the bills, because even as frugal as you can be, bills are still coming and it's still very expensive, and it's going to get way more expensive as time approaches, to the end, so people are just crying and they can't really even stand to wait till this present government is over, because people are saying this is just about 10 months into this presidency and everything is going haywire, like everything is deteriorating out of control, and they don't want to wait and see what will happen at the end of the day. So guys, things are really crazy, and it's surprising to see that Americans are, going to other countries, because it has always been, you hardly see Americans leaving their country because they love being in their country, but because of the way things are becoming way too expensive. Now they are trying to leave, so guys, what do you think? If given the chance, would you leave just like, other Americans are leaving? Would you want to leave? Let us know in the comment section.
Life has gotten so expensive that it's not even worth trying to be frugal anymore. There's no point. You want a crashing out video about cost of living? Here's a crashing out video. So last month, our water bill was pretty high, $217 for the month. It was the highest I've ever had. I'm like, okay, let me look into this. Our usage was a little high. So I talked to my girlfriend. I say, let's try to conserve water. We did everything right. For the entire month, we turned off the sink while we were doing our dishes. We took short showers. I even used a timer during my showers. We consolidated loads of laundry. We did everything we could to save water. And you know what? We did a damn good job. We saved 500 gallons, which is awesome. That is a great improvement. You want to guess how much my water bill was for this month? $215. We used 500 gallons less, and I saved $2 whole. Are you actually for real right now? But Zach, how could this be? The fees and the taxes went up so much in the course of 1 month. That's all we saved. So what's the point? Why am I being frugal about it? Doesn't make any sense. Just 5 years ago, my water bill was $130 a month. Granted, it was just myself. Now we're 2 people. I get it. It's going to go up, but come on. There is no such thing as saving money here anymore. There is no such thing as getting ahead, putting together a retirement. None of that. It is impossible. I don't know about you, but I don't think this is sustainable. I don't think anybody can afford anything anymore. And it's getting...
White man in Africa. Of course, I'm used to being called Bwana. or boss by people I've never met before. In Africa, of course I'm used to people respecting me just because white man in Africa, and I recognize that I have benefited from white privilege. I'm a white man in Africa, and I recognize that I have benefited from the fact that my ancestors colonialized, enslaved, and mistreated people who are indigenous to this continent. I'm a white man in Africa, and I don't hold any personal responsibility for the way that my ancestors behaved. However, I am a white man in Africa who recognizes that the position that I hold within society has been given to me by the fact that my ancestors behaved as they did. I'm a white man in Africa who recognizes that the legacy of history has left its mark on the current. We cannot say that things happened hundreds of years ago and are not relevant to the modern world. Of course they are, because the events of the past have shaped the world in which we live today. And thus, economically, socially, and psychologically, there will be differences between people which is rooted in the past, some of which are rooted in things like slavery, imperialism, and colonialism. And unless we recognize, as white people living in Africa, that we benefit from privilege that is associated with this past, then we are ignorant. And let's not forget, ignorant means to ignore. That's where the word is derived from. So if we ignore this past, then shame upon us. And thus, as a white man in Africa, I have a duty, in what little way I can, atone for the sins of my father's fathers.
Yeah, but to those Caucasians that are living, I guess some of you were one of the people that voted for this guy, and now that the chips are down, you want to run to go to where? Like, you were one of the reasons why this government is in power, but you still want to run and leave Trump with who? That's what a lot of people are asking right now, right? And I get it, people move around the world. It's not even just America. Throughout the world, there is economic hardship. It's not just in America. You know, everywhere around the world, people are going through different, diverse, terrible economic hardship. And it tells you that something in the horizon is coming and people better be prepared. You know, you need to be prepared. Gone are the days that you think you're just gonna wait till at the mercy of whosoever, right? You have to make way for yourself to see what plan B you have, what contingency plan you have. You can't just wait until the chips are down before you take your decision whether to stay, leave, or do the needful, right? I'm not saying people should run away from where they are. You can stay wherever you are, but at least they have plan B, so that at the end of the day, whatever happens, at least you know you're prepared, right? So guys, if you have come this far in this video, please do me the honor and hit on the subscribe button, hit on the like button, hit on the share button, hit on the notification bell in order not to miss any of my videos. See you in the next one. Have a blessed day.